Vromi Committee of Parliament has been convened on the subject of the TNO report. Through you, Madam Chair, I wish to inform Parliament that the TNO report speaks of energy transition within the countries of Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin. Within government, energy policy, and by extension, energy transition, falls under the Ministry of TEAT. Vromi, in its role as the ministry in charge of infrastructure, is then responsible for ensuring adequate distribution. As such, my presentation today focuses largely on giving context to the report and therefore draws on my experiences from my previous position as Director of Foreign Relations, wherein I advised on a strategy for financing the energy transition. In addition, the long-term vision aligns with and supports initiatives being undertaken by the Policy Department of Vromi. Finally, and most naturally, consultations was done with the Ministry and Minister of TEAT. What is TNO? De Nederlandse organisatie wordt toegepast natuurwetenschappelijke onderzoek, or the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research, in short, in Dutch, TNO, is an independent research organization in the Netherlands. Established in 1932, TNO conducts contract research, offers specialist consulting services, and grants licenses for patents and specialized software. TNO works in 6 key areas: construction, energy, healthcare, industry, logistics, and maritime and offshore. Why were they contracted? TNO was contracted by the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate, EZK, to assess the feasibility of energy transition in the Caribbean countries of the Kingdom, i.e., Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin. This research was commissioned to build upon the agreement called the Kingdom of the Netherlands Climate Agenda, Pathway Towards Climate Resilient and Sustainable Islands, signed by the Minister of EZK and the Prime Ministers of the 3 countries in 2024. The reasoning behind signing this document is the belief that aligning the priorities of the islands, the climate agenda could enhance the cooperation in the kingdom concerning climate change and sustainable energy. The aim of this cooperation is to accelerate the transition to resilient and sustainable futures for the 6 islands, considering their limited capacities and resources necessary to face climate change. By improving access to resources, sharing knowledge and best practices, existing and new initiatives on the islands to improve climate resilience can be advanced, thereby contributing to the overall environment in the Caribbean region. The report was envisioned to form the basis for discussions around financing the energy transition by creating a baseline on which to build. How did we come to this Kingdom agenda? The Kingdom Climate Agenda was the direct result of the lobbying done by the governments of 3 countries at various events, but most notably on the floor of the United Nations. Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin were consistent in their messaging regarding climate change and the lack of structural funding to combat the impact of climate change. This was also discussed within the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Affairs, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Strategy for energy transition financing. The Department of Foreign Relations, DBB, having taken note of discussions within the Kingdom regarding debt forgiveness, advised the then Prime Minister to align discussions around debt forgiveness to what was being practiced internationally. Globally, independent developing countries are being offered concessionary financing, so in short, low interest rates or more beneficial mechanisms, based on factors such as their vulnerability, i.e. size, economy, and exposure to natural disasters. Though we are within the Kingdom, the position was that our St. Martin reality was far more in line with our Caribbean neighbors than that of the Netherlands, and as such, a review of existing debt and/or access to financing to help with our transition to renewable energy should be considered. This was taken up and formed the basis of the country's interventions internationally over the past 5 years. A direct result of this lobby work is that the countries are now eligible for the Sustainable Energy Production and Climate Transition Incentive, easily called SDA++, and the National Growth Fund CRUI funds. SDA++ provides subsidies to companies and non-profit organizations that generate large-scale renewable energy or reduce CO2 emissions, while the National Growth Fund is a monetary allocation of the Dutch government for project investments in two fields which have the highest potential for structural and durable economic growth. These two fields are, one, knowledge development and research, and development and innovation. Within government of St. Martin, an Energy and Climate Committee was created comprising of civil servants from Ministry AZ, TEAT, and VROMI. Together, this committee is charged with developing the strategy towards transition. As earlier stated, the objective of the TNO report was to form the basis for discussions around energy transition projects and their funding. As Minister Plenipotentiary in my former job just last week, I held discussions on the way forward with relevant ministries in The Hague, and the most critical step needed now is a comprehensive government plan towards renewable energy that leads to the development of project proposals. To that end, I've already engaged with the Minister of TEAT to prioritize the updating of the energy policy. I am glad to state that this has her attention as well as that of her ministry.
It is a shame that after having elections 6 months ago, we find ourselves right back here with a total disregard to St. Martin citizens, our country, the investments being made, and our social fabric. Each and every one of you that are on this esteemed board did your part for the elections of January the 11th. You did your part. And then after, went on to continue to contribute to St. Martin in a positive way. Unfortunately, the people that we elect are not doing their part. It is time for St. Martin to get off the road that it is on, because we're on a road to destruction. I am sounding the alarm now. If we do not bring about change and real change to this country, we are going to destroy it. We are no longer at the crossroads. We have taken the wrong turn. I'm going to tell you a story about the priest and the Levite. The priest and the Levite was walking along the road, and there was a man on the side of the road, and he was sick. He was beaten up. But the priest passed, and the priest said, I am not going to stop and help him because maybe it's a trap. And the Levite passed, and the Levite said the same thing because they was concerned about them. But the Good Samaritan passed, and he turned the question around. He said, if I do not stop to help this man, not what would happen to me, but what will happen to him. If we do not stop to help St. Martin, what will happen to St. Martin, not us? That's why we're here, like-minded. That's why we're here. This is the passion that is burning in every candidate. We are the Good Samaritans. We are the ones that are going to turn this country around, that 4 years and 8 years from now, we can be proud and go down in the annals of history saying that they are the ones that got it right. We love this country, but it's more to say that you love it, you're going to have to show it by your actions. The actions that took place on May the 20th that thrusted us into this situation is totally irresponsible and immature. We do not need immaturity in government. When you make decisions in government, you are making decisions that affect every aspect and every facet of your society. From the biggest to the smallest, you have to take those things into consideration. St. Martin deserves better. This country deserves better. I have presented a list of candidates that all have a proven track record in their fields. We celebrated Emancipation Day yesterday. We have Rhoda Arundel, who is the one that was responsible for us being able to celebrate that. And every other candidate in their own way. Tamara Leonard as a member of parliament, proven track record. Claude Chacho Peterson, and all of my candidates, Delano Samuel, young, energetic. Ruben Ponteflet, young, energetic. Billy Jean-Baptiste, Cecil Nicholas, all of these are willing to, in Zinga Lake, well, I didn't forget, in Zinga Lake, but all of these are ready to contribute. Lucien Benscorp, and as well as Mario Henrietta. These are the candidates that we are putting forward to represent this country. And there's one thing that we instilled, that St. Martin comes above all. It is not a cliche. That's why we have 12 candidates. That's why we did not full a list, because we didn't want to just put people on the list for putting them sake. You cannot make people vulnerable when you're putting them in the political dynamic as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Good Samaritans.
Yeah! Who are we?
The Good Samaritans.
Who are we? The Good Samaritans. Yeah.
And this is not an election that is a normal election. It's a snap election, and we must remind the electorate how we got here in the first place. And it's up to the electorate to go out and do what is not what is right for them, but what is right for this country. Like the Good Samaritan, he turned the question around. He said, if I don't do something for this man, not what will happen to me, but what will happen to him. We are here to fix this broken, beautiful country that we call St. Martin. Yes. God bless you all. Serious people for serious times.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurances.
Write the whole big speech, but I heard most of what I would like to say tonight. It pertains to change and resilience. And the one thing that I don't think I really heard, and that has been my strength throughout my education journey, that was this teaching degree, has been a verse I keep very dear to my heart. Comes from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, I believe. And it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It took me a while to get here, to finally accomplish my dream of becoming an educator. I could not have done it without God. And I could not have done it without my Ohana, which means family, my blood family, and my extended family, You all know who you are. Thank you very much for your support. Without USM, UVI, and the graciousness of the Education Department, the Study Financing Department of St. Martin, who gave me the privilege of being able to finance this step. So, even at this tender age, I believe the children are the future, and it is our duty to help to bring them to what they can be. And that's one of the reasons I pursued this profession. I am very excited to start, and I will be starting in August. Mr. Butler School. So, I often encourage youngsters, wherever I go. I've worked 30 years in the private sector. I've supervised a lot of people, a lot of youngsters. They come fresh out of school, start to work, and I tell them, go back to school, get an education. We have a university right here, go and register. So I'm showing them all now, it's possible, no matter how old you are. Never too old to learn. We learn new things every day of our lives. So I am directly speaking to my grandchildren who are in the crowd. Never give up. Pursue your education. No matter how tough it gets, hold on. You have support of your family. You have faith in God. You will make it.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I am once again your official teacher roller. Growing up as a little boy, or I should say, being in the arms of my parents, toys was never my favorite gadgets. White and colored chalk was. Every door, every brown door in that house represented the blackboard. And every step within that home represented the tables and chairs of a classroom. Today, we can say that education is one of the most important things today. Precisely, being a teacher is one of the most important things or profession we need today. Taking into consideration the educational system as a ladder, elementary education is at its first step to a child's success. Sometimes we think that our children are coming to school just as a daycare. But students don't only gain knowledge, they develop behavior and social skills that helps them to interact with others. They adapt to creativity. And of course, ultimately, they grow and become adults where they partake the vision that was given to them by their teacher, and of course, share it with others. Within the educational system as teachers, there are two parts. The first part is teachers have the opportunity to partake and to guide future leaders, doctors, lawyers, garbage collectors, nurses, teachers, lawyers, you name it. But the other part to it is that, and it's the part that many of us don't like to talk about, but it's reality. Teachers have the opportunity to bend the curve and to break the chains of criminals, abusers, thieves, liars, and so much more. And being in a classroom as a teacher, we discover things that we never knew we were. We are cheerleaders, we are doctors, we are counselors, we are truth detectors, we are everything. Oh, of course, we are decorators. I love teaching, and I'm sure you can hear that. So I am so grateful for this experience. And the truth of the matter is, without children, there are no teachers. So my encouragement to parents, don't laugh. My encouragement to parents, make plenty children. Let me say that again. Make plenty children. And you know why? Because it gives us teachers an opportunity to embrace your children and release them into this world so that they can lead, also take charge of their community and make a difference in their world. So, Carmen, congratulations. To my instructors, my parents, friends, thank you for your prayers and your support. God bless you all.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Question, in according to what I have received, is if Parliament approves and agrees with the outline agreement or not. Seeing all the risks mentioned, will there be another solution presented with less risks? And if so, in what timeline? Is there still any civil court case ongoing or not? Also, in regards to current investigations, are there still currently any criminal investigations ongoing in regards to the ones involved in the Enya saga? I'm also asking this in regards to possible involved players and future possible court cases, if any. Also, I would like to know what the reason is that Mr. Gibson Sr. was consulted and in what capacity. And how will this Hoofdlijnen Accord impact possible civil and/or criminal proceedings. And I'm referring to positively and
because as the former minister, our colleague MP Arian mentioned, when this first came up, the same questions that you have, that the minister through you, Madam Chair, made in her observations in the last slides, are the questions that we put forth. And it is so unfortunate that the plight of 3,000 persons who more than likely would include families, because I've seen in previous presentations they extrapolated to the average family being 3 to 4 other persons attached. So that would then be up to 10 to 12,000 people impacted by not being able to collect on monies put into a system over time. That this consideration for us was heavy, but we didn't see that it needed to be tied to the already disputed COVID loans and where we were in the discussion and negotiation thereon. However, the reality of this constant only giving a year so that you're giving that very small window in which to negotiate played a role. A permanent solution, of course, would have been for a longer time. I must say that it speaks to some of the meetings we've held earlier this week and today regarding the dispute regulation, regarding what the CFT and what the IMF has said about St. Martin's economy and our potential, which everyone recognizes. While we're nowhere near our debt ceiling. We do have debt, but we're not near the debt ceiling. But the international community, and I know I might lose some people, but bear with me, the international community has been putting pressure on developed states, the G20 and others, against, in our case, former colonizers, or I should say former colonizers, because we can attest to certain colonialistic behavior still being present, but at least let's say former slaveholders / colonizers, in terms of their responsibility. The international community, including the United Nations, including the IMF, has called them out to step up to the plate as the ones who are the ones contributing more than 90% to climate change, to be able to assist small island states. People are going to say, where am I going with this? The international community also says, Madam Chair, and I'm hoping that the current government is aware, and to use this as leverage in your next discussions, that small island states should not be forced into debt, unnecessary debt, especially as a result of disasters. And the majority of St. Martin's debt is due to disasters. It's due to the hurricanes, the post-hurricane situation, as well as the liquidity support during COVID-19. And our debt is solely to the Dutch government. On the international stage, I can tell you here that the Prime Minister of the Netherlands was heavily pressured by the Secretary General, by several other Prime Ministers of small island states, to in fact have discussions on debt cancellation or debt swap initiatives. Debt cancellation or debt swap initiatives, meaning for small countries to be able to develop, let's swap what we have to pay you back to use that money as development aid. So that 10, 12 million that we will be paying back in loans, put that in a disaster risk fund, in a development fund, and let it grow. And whenever we try to have that discussion with the Netherlands outside of the international ears, so in that, let's call it BZK discussion, it's an unequivocal no. So I'm not surprised that they now want to add it as a paragraph if there's a renegotiation, even if it reduces the interest level. That is not where St. Martin wants to go. But you know what happens? You have to fight the crisis you're in at the time. So I understand the quandary you're in because we've been there several times. I think what the past government can be called is the government that had to deal with the most crises.
Can the minister provide a simplified summary and overview of the financial course of Enya Holding and its subsidiaries over, say, the last 5 years, as well as the projections going forward that led to the calculations resulting in the Hoofdlijnen main accord or main agreement? What would the results be? Another question. If right now the amount due from Ansari was made, the amount due according to the courts from Hushang Ansari, if that amount was collected, was had at this moment, what difference would that make for the calculations currently on the table? And I think it needs to be explained, Mr. Chairman, by the Minister of Finance, while the pressure on coming to an agreement is primarily tied to the refinancing of the loans, I think it should be stated up front that that kind of pressure at this time and for the coming 2 years approximately, that pressure does not rest on the policy holders of Enya at this time. Because otherwise, this agreement, like the refinancing of the loan, would have had to go into effect by September, October of this year, and that is not the case where the agreement is concerned. So again, what would the results, financial results, be if right now the amount due according to the courts by Ansari was made? Did this come? I'm going to ask the question, Mr. Chairman, but I think from the presentation I got the answer. My question would have been, did this come, the Council of Ministers, get a chance to review the accord? And does the COM feel comfortable, current COM, presenting to Parliament the decision that is now before us? I think, Mr. Chairman, that I have gotten that answer indirectly from the Minister of Finance with her presentation.